Hello everyone, and thanks for tuning in to A Bite of Wellness. I'm Chef Ricardo from Wellness in the Schools. In our last episode, I introduced the topic of immunity, and today we'll continue with part 2 of our 3-part series. I spoke about the immune system being this little army inside of us that keeps us happy and healthy. I touched upon how our bodies are built to keep any germs from getting inside, even if we happen to breathe or swallow them. And I also discussed the roles of all of these cells of the immune system that come into play when we experience an injury or an infection. But most importantly, I addressed the connection between our immune system and the food that we eat. I had a lot to say, so here's a quick summary for you all at home. Our immune system requires a variety of vitamins and minerals to get what it needs to keep our bodies healthy. Eating a rainbow of fruits and veggies at each meal throughout the day is a great first step towards maintaining our health. Some foods that help our immune system are garlic, turmeric, and ginger. To get the most out of garlic, make sure to let it rest for 10 minutes after cutting before you cook. To get the most out of ginger and turmeric, peel off the skins using a spoon instead of a vegetable peeler. Eating fiber-rich foods can support immunity by directly feeding the good bacteria in our microbiome. That's a collection of germs that live in our digestive system. The more good bacteria in our guts, the less space there is for bad bacteria. Eating fruits and veggies is a great way to fill up on fiber. But as for grains, choose more sources of whole grains, like 100% whole wheat breads and pastas, oats, and brown rice. Now, there are some foods that weaken our immune systems. Fried foods, sugar, and even some food additives can make it harder for our body's natural defenses to do their job. These foods are best enjoyed as an occasional treat. Choosing the best options to eat is a very important way for us to take control of our health. However, food isn't the only element under our control that we can change. For today's episode, I'll talk about how sleep and exercise can affect our body's capacity to heal itself and fight off germs. Sleep is really important for keeping our bodies and our minds in good health. Let's listen to my friend Chef Laurielle as she talks about how getting enough sleep can support your immune health.
Are you getting enough sleep? Hi, I'm Chef Laurielle with Wellness in the Schools. My son Jet is actually sleeping right now, getting in his proper rest. Getting proper sleep is one of the essential ways to protect our immune system. Sleep is an important part of helping our bodies to repair, recover, and regenerate after a long day. Here's some reasons why getting your proper rest is so important. Good sleep helps us to focus for learning. It also helps us not to get sick, and it also helps to fight off certain types of diseases, which in turn helps to keep us healthy. The general guidelines recommends that children aged 3 to 12 get at least 10 to 12 hours of sleep per night. However, if you're having a little bit of trouble getting to sleep, consider these suggestions. Consider a sleep routine. Going to bed at the same time each night and waking up at the same time each morning will help. Avoid taking naps after 3 p.m. and getting your body moving and grooving. Getting lots of exercise certainly helps for a good night's sleep. Thank you for joining me and Wellness in the Schools for an easy way to boost your immune system. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Chef Laurielle. When you last got sick, do you remember ever feeling sleepy or low on energy? Because believe it or not, that feeling of exhaustion is a signal from your body's immune system telling you to slow down and get some rest. Whether we're sick or whether we're healthy, our bodies use the time that we're asleep to repair and get ready for the next day. But when we don't give our bodies the rest that they need, it could actually make it easier for us to get sick. Does anybody remember those T cells that I brought up in our first part of the series? You know, the ones that look around our bodies for germs. When we don't sleep enough, we actually lower our body's stored T cells. And since T cells call the rest of the immune system to action, that means that losing out on sleep will result in our immune system having a slower response to germs. Do you remember the word inflammation from our last episode? If not, no worries. That's the way that our bodies respond to germs, by getting the immune system to send white blood cell reinforcements to any part of our body. But did you know that our immune systems actually increase inflammation when we sleep? While that sounds like a bad thing, it really isn't. The immune system is active while we sleep to maintain the body's defenses. Time spent sleeping also helps the immune system to remember how to recognize and react to germs. Losing out on our sleep causes our bodies to respond by increasing inflammation, but it increases the inflammation when we're awake. While we rely on the inflammation to help us heal overnight, too much inflammation for too long wears down our ability to respond to injury and infection. Believe it or not, when we're sick, our immune systems can affect how we're sleeping. It actually forces the body to spend more time in deep sleep. That allows the immune system to use more of our body's energy to fight against an infection. Scientists also believe that the changes to our sleep caused by the immune system can also enable a fever. Let's face it, having a fever is never a comfortable feeling, but it's a sign that our bodies are fighting even harder against an infection. The higher temperature of our bodies makes for a rougher environment for germs to survive, and the high temperature can trigger immune system cells to be even more active. Like Chef Laurielle mentioned, sleep has a big impact on our health. People who lose out on getting enough sleep are at a higher risk for developing long-term diseases like diabetes, high blood pressure, depression, and even some cancers too. The uncontrolled increase in inflammation also leaves sleep-deprived individuals at a higher risk for developing heart disease as well. Some people tend to do better on less rest than others, but that doesn't mean that their bodies adapted or just got used to less rest. Perhaps these individuals also have a strong immune system in the first place, so it may take longer for them to see a negative impact on their health. Adults should aim for 7 to 8 hours of sleep nightly, while children should aim for 9 to 10 hours a night for optimal rest. Now let's wake up and talk about one of the most important things we can do to improve our immune health: physical activity. Let's listen to Chef Shani as she talks about some of the benefits of exercise on our immune system.
Battling another cough or cold? Feeling tired all the time? You may feel better if you exercise. Hi, I'm Chef Shani Porter from Wellness in the Schools. Moving around and getting exercise is an essential way to protect our immune system. Here are a few reasons why getting your body moving may help reduce your chances of getting sick. Exercise causes a change in antibodies in white blood cells. These antibodies circulate more rapidly, so they can detect the illnesses earlier than they might have before. Physical activity may help flush bacteria out of the lungs and airways. This may reduce your chance of getting a cold, flu, or other illnesses. Here's a suggestion to keep your body moving. Treat your home like an improvised gym. You can do mountain climbers, bear crawls, make a hopscotch mat using painter's tape, or how about some shadow boxing? Go ahead. Exercise makes you feel healthier and more energetic. You will feel better for it. Thank you for joining us in Wellness in the Schools for tips on boosting your immune system.
Thank you, Chef Shani. I really like seeing how you made a gym inside your home for you and your loved ones to use. Just like how Chef Shani mentioned, exercise can improve our body's response to illness. We know that exercise increases blood flow throughout our bodies, and it also increases the lymph flow as our muscles contract or shorten around our lymph vessels and our lymph nodes. This increases the number of immune cells that can travel around your body. Let's think of it like this. Exercise's impact on your immune system is similar to you cleaning up your home. Your house will look cleaner after the first day of cleaning compared to if you never cleaned up your home in the first place. Exercise can reduce inflammation, but that's not a bad thing. That's not going to weaken our immune function. As long as we're social distancing while we're out getting active, exercise will have positive impacts upon your body and your health, both in the short term and in the long term. But be sure to wash your hands with soap and water after exercising, especially if you visited a gym or used outdoor exercise equipment. Aim to include at least 30 minutes of moderate physical activity over the course of the day. You could easily get this in by playing your favorite sport. But if you're working yourself up to being active, moderate physical activity could be just as simple as going out for a brisk walk. So now that we've had an opportunity to talk about immunity in sleep and immunity in exercise, why don't we show a fun way to do a holiday late makeover of your leftovers that's also supportive for your immune system as well? Are you tired of eating the same food every holiday season? Or would you happen to have too many leftovers on hand after preparing a lot of food? Let's face it, with COVID-19, we've had to cut down on our celebrations and the amount of people who could join. That's what happened with my family, and I want to show you guys a quick and easy recipe that you can use to combine all of those leftovers that you might have into a new meal. We are doing a holiday makeover for your leftovers, and today's recipe will be a turkey pot pie. If you happen to have any leftover turkey, or say you bought too much turkey over at the deli, you could definitely use that. You can definitely use mashed potatoes, whether they're fresh or made in a box. Whatever leftovers you have are perfect for this recipe. Rather than make a puff pastry crust from scratch, you can also go ahead and reuse that stuffing. I'll show you how to do that in just one moment. So to start, the first thing that we're going to do is prepare our vegetables. We're going to prepare some celery and a shallot as well too. Shallots are really, really good for that immune system. They're a cousin of garlic. So it's still going to provide those beneficial compounds to help support your immune system. But I like shallots because they end up tasting a lot sweeter. This guy though, what we're going to do is take him and we're going to cut him into a small dice. Start by cutting off the end of your shallot, putting that flat side on your cutting board, and then cutting your shallot in half. With the flatter side of the shallot placed down on the cutting board, you will come with your knife. Let me just brush that off right there. You'll take your bear claw, put your hands on the top of your knife while elevating your hands to keep them out of the way of the blade. With my blade angled flat, I'm going to just push in gently and just cut my shallot into half. I'm not cutting all the way to the very end, just enough so that the root is holding on to the rest of my shallot. Now that I have that almost completely cut, I'm going to come and make vertical cuts. Once I come and make my cuts, not going all the way through so that the root holds everything together, I'm turning my shallot around, cut the other direction, and I will make my dice from there. You want to end up with about a half cup's worth of shallots diced. I have taken 2 large shallots and cut them up over here. We'll keep that on the side with the rest of our meats. Here I've got some fresh flat leaf parsley. I'm going to take that and I'm going to cut that into a small size. I'm actually going to mince it for you all here. Now in order to mince your parsley, gather your parsley together into a little ball. You want to try to keep it more or less together. I'll pull this a little bit further back, and then with the point of your knife down on the cutting board, you're going to bring your knife up and down, bringing the back part of your blade down to cut up your parsley. And we'll just do a little chop. Sometimes you might have to bring it back together. I wish we had smell-o-vision because that parsley is smelling very, very good. It's also really good for your immune system. Parsley's got a decent amount of vitamin A, which will help those immune cells to reproduce and grow, especially when they're needed to help defend your body from germs. The next thing we're going to add is some chopped sage. So I'll take that. We'll take the sage, tear it off from its stem, and we'll do the same thing to our sage. Just bring it down to about the same consistency as our parsley. Unlike the parsley, you don't need to cut it as much. Last but not least, I'm going to take my thyme and cut that up. Now with the thyme, the easiest way to remove it from the stem itself is to take your 2 fingers on your less dominant hand, the hand that you do not write with, pinch it together, and almost like you're unzipping a zipper, you're going to pull off all the leaves from that stem. Now that I've got my thyme destemmed, I'll also take my blade and just do a quick mince. The leaves are small, so I don't have to do too much. And we'll put that with our shallots and our other herbs. Okay, now that I've got all of my aromatics, the next thing that we're going to do is start by cooking those. Rather than cook them on the stove, what I will do is I will cook them in the oven. I'm going to take just a piece of paper and dab this pan with a little bit of olive oil. Our recipe calls for 1 tablespoon. Now I'll take all my aromatics, put them onto my pan, and I'll put them in my preheated oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit. I'll give them a little shake so they're all in a single layer. And I will put this in for just a couple of minutes. While we've got that cooking, the next thing I'm going to do is chop up our celery. So, taking celery stalks that have already been removed from the main stem, I'm just going to do a little trim on the very ends, my bottoms and my tops. And then I'm going to cut these into slices, just all the way down. Using my bear claw, I can kind of size out a cut of about 1/4 of an inch, kind of on the thinner side. I want these to cook readily along with all the other ingredients that we have. Celery is also really good for your muscles and your blood. And here are all my celery slices. I'll take those, put them in a little bowl, and we will add them in a little bit later. For today's recipe, we're preparing all of our aromatics, our shallots, and all of our herbs in the oven. It's just another method of cooking that'll do the same job. So now that we've got our celery cut, the next thing that I'm going to prepare for my mise en place will be our turkey slices. And here, I've actually got some deli turkey that you can use for this recipe. You don't necessarily have to go and get a special type of turkey. If you have leftovers, you can go ahead and separate those, break it down, and just chop it up into smaller pieces. With my deli turkey slices, I'm going to take the whole bunch right here, and I'm going to go ahead and dice it. I'm just going to cut it into about even-sized strips first, and then I will turn my knife the opposite way and go ahead and make a cube out of that. You don't have to necessarily make a turkey from scratch in order to go ahead and make a turkey pot pie. Though I'm sure that if you did decide to do that at home, it would be absolutely delicious. This is about a 1/2 pound of turkey right here, diced up. That comes out to about 3 cups or so. We'll keep that on the side, and I think it's actually time to pull out our aromatics from the oven. Right before I do that though, I want to just take my little napkin. Good chef practice is to always clean up your cutting board in between different vegetables. And here, let me close this. Don't want to let the heat out, especially for a small oven like that. Here, you can see our aromatics. They're just starting to cook. They're starting to get very, very fragrant. This is perfect, and we're ready for the next step. What we're going to do now is we're going to take a big bowl and we're going to combine some of our ingredients together. I'm going to take my recently cooked aromatics. I'm going to go ahead and put that into a big bowl here, and I'm going to take that and combine it with my other vegetables. I've got my chopped celery on the side. I'm going to throw that in with my aromatics. The next thing I'll throw in is just about a little over a cup's worth of frozen mixed vegetables. Any frozen mixed vegetables you have is good for this. We've got some peas, corns, and carrots here. Peas, green beans, and carrots, I should say. And then the one other thing that I'm going to combine would be our liquid flavor for our recipe. In most turkey pot pie recipes, you'll see gravy being used at this stage. We thought that because a gravy can be really, really salty, we could use a cream of chicken soup to add in flavor here. If you're doing a vegetarian version of this, which would still use leftovers like our stuffing and our mashed potato, you could use a cream of mushroom soup right here. But the soup generally is going to act as our thickener, and we're not necessarily going to use a lot of it. I'm going to start by adding, I'd say, about half of a cup's worth of the cream of chicken soup directly into here. And I'll mix it up really, really well and adjust the consistency from there. And you really want to just see the vegetables and your aromatics start to come together. The consistency looks almost about good to me. The one thing that we have to do at this point is just add a little bit of water. So we only want to add in a little bit of water. I'm just going to add in about a tablespoon at a time, and we'll see how that looks once I mix it up. Here's what it looks like for you all at home. And we are about ready to move on to the next step. I'm going to show you how I assemble my pie crust. For my crust base, I've got stuffing here. If you wanted to use a regular old pastry pie shell, you could here. You would just have to preheat it in the oven, pre-bake it, let it get a little bit brown before you start putting in all your other ingredients. Using the stuffing, however, I filled up my pie tin here, and I'm gonna go ahead and smash that down to make sure that I've got a nice even layer at the bottom. Of course, if you don't have a tin like the one I'm using, you could go ahead and use a glass container. It doesn't have to be a round, it could be a square. Deeper actually works a little bit better in my case. But using that spoon, with the back of the spoon, you're flattening out your pie crust. And I've reserved a little bit of my stuffing on the side so I can go ahead and layer that to make the walls of my pie. I'll take a little bit, put it on the edges over here. Just mold it into place. And once you have that ready, the next thing that you can do is take your vegetable filling and place that inside. Here's my pie crust right here, made out of stuffing. Now I'm going to go ahead and take my vegetable filling, and I'm going to add in about a cup for starters and see how that takes me. I don't want to fill this all the way up just yet because we have 2 more ingredients to add in. Now that I've got my 1 cup of vegetable, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to flatten that out with my spatula. And the next ingredient that we're going to add is our turkey. And this will just go in a layer right on top. We'll evenly layer it out. I'm going to take my measuring cup and I'm going to put in a half cup of turkey. And I think I can get away with a full cup. And we'll just scatter that about. Using my spatula, I'm just going to flatten that on down. So the ratios are more or less roughly equal. I just want to make sure that my slices of turkey are evenly scattered so that you're getting a consistent amount of veg and turkey in each slice. Now that I've got that pretty much layered down, the last thing that I want to do is put the topping on my pie. And for that, we've got some pre-made mashed potatoes on the side over here. You could get them boxed, you could do them from fresh. We wouldn't recommend canned, but one way or the other, you can take potatoes and go ahead. You want to get it down to a consistency that's spreadable. If you need to, you can go ahead and loosen it with a little bit of milk and water at home. You just don't want to add too much at a time because then it's hard to take back that liquid if you've added in too much. But I'm going to take a generous scoop, I'd say about a cup's worth of my potatoes. I'm going to put that on top and then just come and spread it into an even layer with my spatula. And now that I've done that, our turkey pot pie is just about ready to bake off. Here's a closer look at what our pie looks like. And we'll just go ahead and we'll put that into the oven. My oven is set for 400 degrees, and I'm going to put that in for about a good 25 to 30 minutes for starters. There's a lot of pre-cooked ingredients there, so it doesn't need the regular length of time that a turkey pot pie would ordinarily take in the oven. So we put that in, and we'll just come back and check it in a few minutes. Okay, it has been a half an hour since I put my pot pie in the oven, but we're going to take a look at it now and see how things are going on along. I think that it should have had about enough time to cook, and ooh, that looks really beautiful and smells even better. I see that the top of my pot pie has started to brown a little bit. That's the potato just getting cooked at the very top. What I'm really looking for here is to look and see that the insides of my pot pie are bubbling, and I'm just going to look right along the edge where my crust is touching the pan. We want to make sure that our crust is firm while we know that our insides with our vegetable filling, with our turkey, and our cream of chicken soup is going to be a little bit on the looser side. But that's okay because it is a pot pie, and that's what a pot pie should be like. So let me go on ahead. I'll just take my oven mitts and let's go and cut this up, shall we? And I can feel that it's a little bit loose as I cut into it. And the important thing that I was looking for while I had my pie cooking all this time was to make sure that that solid bottom was getting nice and firm. That's why when you're pressing down your stuffing into the pie crust shell, you want to make sure that you've got a nice even layer on the bottom so it can continue to hold up your pie. So we're going to go ahead and scoop this out. Sometimes people serve their pot pies with a spoon. In this case, I'm going to take a spatula to it, and it is a little bit on the looser side. It broke up a little bit on me, but all the elements are there. There we go. I wish you guys were here to smell this. It's amazing. But you could see our pot pie right over here. We've got our potato on top. You could see a little bit of the diced turkey down there. Our vegetables mixed up in between. You've got nice even layers right there. And to show you the pie itself, you can see the layering a little bit better from the main pie over here. And that's all there is to it. That's our turkey pot pie. That's our holiday makeover for your leftovers. And if something was missing that you might not have seen on the recipe as I was putting it together, there's no reason why you can't substitute it out. The main goal of this pot pie was to take my leftovers and make them over into a completely different meal. Maybe there's something that I served here that you might not like. Say you didn't like mashed potatoes. What I could have done was dice up some potatoes, make a small dice, scatter that right on top, and I could kind of get like a little effect of topping this with hash browns. But there's no reason why you had to add the vegetables that were chosen for this. You can honestly put your favorite ones or whatever vegetables you have at home. This is a very flexible recipe that's really open to adaptation, just depending on what's available right at the moment. I hope that you've enjoyed this pot pie demonstration. Thanks for tuning in. I hope to see you soon.